Today's topic is how to negotiate the deal. More importantly than that, really, I'm not Chris Voss standing up here. If you guys don't know who that is, you should look him up because he is a negotiation expert, former FBI hostage negotiator, and he actually has a lot of content that relates to real estate and just sales in general and how you can do that. But as a real estate agent, being in the industry for a while, Lexus, do you mind asking them to? Oh, I think they might have just done it, but anyway, turn the top volume down. A lot of times it's not about hard tactic negotiating whenever you're doing real estate deals or really any sales pitch in general. A lot of times it's problem solving. So find a motivated seller, figure out what their issues are, what their pain points are, and then figure out a way to get from point A to point B and get them what they need, and you also get what you need, which is most of the time property. So we're going to be more focused on that than kind of hardcore negotiating through this. But today's agenda, like I said, we'll do the intro. Then I'm actually going to get into a little local market update just on the New River Valley here. Our board office sends us out a monthly report on like sales and broken down between counties, which is kind of cool to look at. And then we take that data and kind of make our own assumptions with it. But it's pretty cool to look at. And then we'll talk about identifying motivated sellers, who they are, what they are, what makes them motivated sellers. And then we're going to get into an open discussion on negotiating and the problem-solving aspect. So, I've got a few deals where I've encountered motivated sellers or just sellers in general that, have problems that need to be solved. And sometimes you have to get creative to get them what they want. And at the end of the day, get what you want as well. So we'll get into that towards the end. And then I missed a bullet point up here. We actually have some deals that we've either put under contract or that are coming up that, can either be group deals, partner deals, or, a sale if somebody's interested in it. So we've got some multifamily stuff. We've got some we got a flip property that we're looking at that's got some technical issues with it that we're working through, and then some future opportunities and investments as well. So we'll go through some of that stuff as talk through it. So what is GRID? Especially for the ones that weren't here last week, GRID is actually they say a global network of real estate investors, but it started in Northern Virginia. I think most of the chapters are up there, and it really is just kind of an aggregator of real estate knowledge, real estate investors, bringing people together, doing deals together, and trying to really grow your network, grow your knowledge, and push your real estate investing forward. We're not gurus. I don't stand up here and say I know everything by far. Probably one of the youngest ones in here. Been in the real estate investing world for like 6 years now. So I've got some experience, got quite a few deals under my belt, but there are a lot of topics that I'm not an expert on. So this is always a group discussion. We want to bounce things off each other, experience within the group, and try and grow and learn that way. So my intro. My name is Cody Jernell. If you guys don't know me, I know pretty much all of you so far. Grew up in Giles County. Went to school here, played football here, got a marketing and finance degree. It's had nothing to do with real estate whatsoever. Like most people, got a sales degree right outside of college, moved up to Northern Virginia. Kind of bounced around between startups and things along those lines, so I kind of got the school of hard knocks when it came to that stuff. Some of them were fairly successful. Some of them were pretty unsuccessful too. So luckily I wasn't the head honcho of those, but I definitely experienced the pain as well. Why I started this group, again, it was kind of surprising to me looking around Blacksburg, Roanoke areas. Like, it's a ton of investment in these areas, and to not have a group where people are coming together and masterminding about investing, about trying to grow your network, trying to do deals with each other, or even just use each other's business. It was kind of surprising to me. So GRID came up. We figured it was a good way to get it started, and they provide the structure and things along those lines. So obviously we want to accomplish everything we've already said, and you can connect with us, obviously, with this group, Facebook. I've got contact information over here. We have an Instagram page up now that Alexis created this morning. So, so if you want to follow that, it's Grid Blacksburg. So this is where we're gonna go around the room a little bit. Just tell us where you stand. You know, your name. Are you currently an investor? What property types are you doing? Do you have another business that you run? It can be real estate related or not real estate related. You know, even though we're all in real estate here, we do business outside of real estate as well. So, however we can help each other, the better. What you want to learn here, and you know, how you're hoping to benefit from the group. So, I will start. Let's start on the right and go left. Katie or Ethan.
Well, my name is Katie Cornwell. I currently work with Dr. Redefine as assistant corporate broker.
Take the tiny mic.
And I'm also an office manager. I do not currently invest, but I am here to learn more about it.
I'm Austin. Most of you guys know me. I am partners with Cody, the broker of Gravity, and yeah, I've got Airbnbs and stuff. So I like to buy shitty properties and make them real nice. There you go.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I'm a real estate agent over at the Gravity Group, and I'm kind of on the front end of investing, totally starting from scratch, just getting into it, and I have one property we're about to rent actually with the Gravity Property Management Group, so I'm excited about that, but I'm hoping to kind of hear from people that have a lot more properties, you know, how they got started and go from there, and you know, what they would do differently and stuff like that.
Hey guys, I'm Jamie Kreiner and I work with Gravity too, the Gravity Corner over here. I don't personally invest yet, would love to, here to learn all the things. Definitely worked on that side with buyers and sellers, so looking to grow here. Oh, yeah, they were trying to.
I like
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Just speak into this. I'm Hannah. I'm also a real estate agent with Gravity, and this is my husband Jared. We kindly mainly just do like foreclosures and then kind of flip them as much as we can. We kind of gotten out of that a little bit. Right now we have a sixplex in Radford that we're dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is here.
Oh, you covered it.
How you doing? My name's Josh Ruffalo. I'm a buy and hold investor, and I'm also a lender. So do a lot of short-term loans, bridge loans, and hopefully soon DSCR, but nothing yet. Yep, yeah, I live in Richmond, but I cover a fund that is over the whole state of Virginia.
Kathy Leach. I purchased my first short-term rental in Gatlinburg, Tennessee in April, and that was quite the experience. I am wanting to pivot and maybe do something different. I don't know if I want another one. So here to learn and kind of just see what everybody else is doing and what other opportunities there are.
David Maroney was I guess, quote unquote, a professional investor for a while. Now I'm a lender and invest personally just in buy and hold residential and some commercial things and kind of small balance multifamily.
My name's Andrew Weichel and I'm a newbie. Just kidding. I am an investor, residential, commercial, small industrial, looking to develop relationships and find more deals.
I'm Kendall. I'm Andrew's wife, and I am a stay-at-home mom to our 3-year-old son, and I try to keep things straight in the books and keep us organized.
She keeps us out of jail.
Yeah, that too.
My name is Mikkel Mann. I'm an investor from Giles County, specialized mainly in mobile home parks and duplexes, a couple single families.
My name's David Zier. I work at G&H Appliance. If anybody needs appliances, I can be your appliance supplier. I used to do some home flips, but don't have time for it so much anymore. I do have some rental properties, and always looking, but not looking real hard right now, just because of timing. But hope to soon.
David finds the most smoking hot deals that you can. He doesn't even look. It just happens.
I'm Annabeth Kazusko. I'm from Richmond also. But we are Hokies and have always wanted to invest here and have started investing in some single family properties, would like to get into some multifamily and am interested in other types of things, not sure what, mobile homes maybe. And what else? I'm a director of accounting at a property management company out of Chicago. I think that's it.
Ed Kazusko, she's my ride. So we've got a few rentals here in town, and then like she said, we'd love to get into maybe multifamily, maybe mobile homes. Just trying to figure out what's next. I am currently a risk manager at Capital One, which has been a good company for a long time, but I'm kind of ready to be a little more do something different. Yeah.
You guys snuck in the back. Just introducing ourselves. Yeah, what we do.
Oh.
What's your background?
My name is Jamie Oliver. I'm not a chef. I'm a professional poker player. I take money from Cody regularly. No, in all seriousness, that's right, but bi-weekly. And no, seriously, I own Highlander Construction Development. We're a general contractor and a developer in the River Valley. We've been in business since 1997, and so we develop land. We build for clients. We build for ourselves on some properties, and Cody and I have been looking at a number of different projects together. And there you go.
Yeah, sweet. Great speech.
Thanks.
So I'm Justin Wheeler. I'm a superintendent for this guy. Work all of his construction jobs, and out of Lynchburg. So I commute a little bit, but it's fine. Other than having to put up with him, everything's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Have you already went? Yep. Oh, sweet.
Oh boy,
Thank you guys. That's always helpful. You know, obviously, kind of start connecting dots when you hear people's occupations. And you want to talk? Okay. But yeah, we'll have a networking session after this. Make sure you go up and introduce yourself to people and see how you can benefit from each other. So we'll jump right into it. For you guys, we kind of went over the agenda real quick. You're good. We're talking about kind of identifying motivated sellers, some areas that you can look to try and find deals, some red flags, or I guess green flags for us on what a motivated seller might show in listings and things along those lines. And then we're going to have an open discussion about some deals that people have done around that. So I have to say this: this is not financial advice. Anything I say, make sure you do your own research. Not an accountant, not a financial planner. Make sure you do your due diligence. Take everything, most of what I say at least, with a grain of salt. And then this is our release notice. We're filming here. We've got people watching on Facebook Live. We'll take some videos and some pictures that will go out on social media. So this is essentially the consent form. If you have any issues with anything going up, just come and let me know. We'll make sure you're not in it. Blur your face out or something. But so we said we get into a market update for the NRV. Again, this comes from our board office, and they do this monthly. I guess I need to stay in the frame. So I found this interesting. The market dashboard on this side, you can see year-over-year change sales are down 17%. Pending sales are down 12%. But the median sales price has actually been pretty stable. It's actually up 1% from last year, which is, if you listen to the news enough, you would be like, there's no way that that's true. But this is actually the data coming from our MLS. Then you look down at active listings; those have actually gone down a little bit as well. So the lesser listings is obviously playing into the sales, pending price or pending sales, and obviously, especially being a real estate agent, we've experienced a lot of people that say, well, I've locked in a 3% interest rate either with a new purchase or a refinance on my house. Why would I move anywhere unless I absolutely have to? So that's keeping active listings down, and it's also keeping the median sales price at a pretty stable level. So don't listen to everything that you hear in the news. prices have actually stayed pretty steady. In some areas have even gone up over that 1% mark. So taking that data and then looking at this county breakdown, can you guys see past my head? It's interesting to see, you know, they did like a year over year, April versus April. But you can see some of the counties that stick out are like Giles County had a change from an average days on market from 31 days on market down to 9 days on market. You look at Tazewell County, it went average days on market are about half of what they were back in 2022. Galax, you know, Radford and Montgomery County are actually trending the opposite way. So at least from my perspective, what that tells me is people are looking, especially with prices being a little bit inflated, interest rates going higher, people are looking outside of those kind of more populated, higher price range areas. They're going to Giles County, they're going to Tazewell County, they're going to Galax, Bland, where the prices are a little bit more reasonable and they can afford that, you know, 8% interest rate or 6, 7, 8% interest rate. So I always thought that was interesting. You know, when you start looking at doing flips or something like that, this is definitely something to keep in mind. There's obviously a higher demand for the price range in these areas. But we'll do this every month, see how much it changes. If it hasn't changed much, maybe we'll look at a different kind of market update, but always something that we find interesting. And with your email, if you guys signed in, we're going to send these slides out afterwards. So if you want to go back and look at the data and use it in any way, you're more than happy to do that. So let's get right into it. What is a motivated seller? So for a seller to be motivated, there's got to be something going on in their lives to motivate them. Like we said before, we're problem solvers, you know, not necessarily professional negotiators. So how do we identify the problem with that seller and then provide a solution in that way? So first thing is, two biggest motivators for most people are either their circumstance or their emotions. Circumstance being the seller may be motivated by certain things, the property condition, you know, it's abandoned, needs work, there's been fire, water, mold damage. They think it's unsellable. You know, on the open market, they wouldn't get the price that they think it's worth. So, you know, an investor is going to come in most likely and buy it. It needs too much work. Somebody's not going to use it as like a single family occupied home. Finances, they can't afford repairs, or they moved recently and didn't have an agent that was savvy enough to like help them line that process up. So, you know, now they're sitting there with 2 mortgages, or it didn't sell in the time frame that they thought it was going to sell. So they've got 2 payments now, which obviously no one wants that. They're pretty motivated to get rid of that thing. Any time frame or external pressures, it's a pre-foreclosure, kind of going back to finances, needs the cash flow, needs the money for something. That's a thing that comes up a lot of times. And then just your convenience, you know, absentee landlord, somebody that moved out of state. We see it a lot. People that inherited a property after an estate sale or after you know, someone dies, and they just don't want anything to do with it. So they're just, you know, trying to offload it. Don't really care what the fair market value is sometimes. So then emotional. You know, the owner no longer loves the house, and for some, you know, some rhyme or reason is emotionally attached at this point. So that can be the condition of it. You know, they don't have time, or they don't have the money, or they've kind of, you know, jobs have changed. They just don't have the resources that they need to make the repairs. So they're trying to get out from under it. You know, they're embarrassed to put their property up on the market. You know, a lot of times I'll run into this with clients that don't want to sign in the yard because they don't want people looking at their pictures that live next door, being like, how would they let their house get in that manner? So that's, you know, they're going to have to look at alternative ways to sell their house. Most likely that's going to be go to somebody that can sell it off market, most likely to an investor or something along those lines. Or at least, you know, they're at least not getting top dollar by putting it on the MLS. They have bad tenants and poor cash flow. So those are some of the most common ways for motivated sellers. The seller's motivated by circumstance, need the house sold a lot of times. The seller's motivated by emotion, just want the house out of their life. They don't want to think about it anymore. They want to walk away. take a little paycheck and be done with it. So then we go to finding the deal. These are just some of the ways that have worked for me. Also kind of open this up to discussion because I'm interested to hear how other folks find deals and use that if we can. Driving for dollars, essentially that's just driving around neighborhoods. You look for homes that have grown up yards and boarded up windows and try and get in touch with that seller, look it up in the GIS. If you guys aren't utilizing the GIS, that's definitely something to get familiar with. That's how you pull up the tax card and look at what the owner's name is, and you can kind of, reverse a lot of times into getting their contact information. One of the biggest ones, obviously, that's why we're here, networking. Off-market deals are my favorite way to do deals, especially right now, because anything that does hit the market, like we said, there's still a high demand for housing. So you're competing. You really want to try and get in there before the rest of the world sees it. Foreclosures.com, we've got a subscription there. They show bankruptcies, pre-foreclosures, houses that are in foreclosure, and they assign I don't want to butcher this, but they usually assign some sort of attorney that settles the estate or is in charge of it. So it's in pre-foreclosure. A lot of times you can get in touch with that attorney. The bankruptcies as well. It's not always that a bankruptcy, the housing is involved, but if you call that attorney that's listed on that site, he can tell you, yes, this is going to be part of the sale. A lot of times you might be able to kind of weasel your way in there before it actually hits the market. So that's been a good one for us. The HUD Home Store, most of the time those end up on the MLS too, because HUD has to assign an agent that's a HUD agent. But I've bought some of my best single-family houses through the HUD Home Store. They're not scared of taking lowball offers. You don't get like shadow banned or anything like that by submitting super low offers. And if it's been on the market for a while, like you never know. So kind of shoot your shot there, see what happens. Facebook or Craigslist. This is obviously, at least most of the time, somebody trying to do it themselves. We call it FSBO, for sale by owner. And most of the time they don't have the experience to know, they're either underpricing it a lot of times or they're also way overpricing it themselves. So their expectations are kind of out of whack. But you get in there and, you can negotiate a little better when there's no commission involved. You can kind of use that as a tactic, and being a real estate agent, sometimes we do that. We say, hey, I'll save you $20,000 by not putting it on the market and have to pay in real estate agents. Let's take that off the sales price. So things like that. They don't have proper marketing behind it. The MLS is obviously a good one. Believe it or not, you can still find deals on there. We're going to get into what things to look for houses listed on the MLS that can tell you what it might be a motivated seller behind that. And then, yeah, obviously, so we want to open that up. Do you guys have any other tactics that you use, sites that you go to? They're not all listed up here, but curious to hear. What's up, Andrew?
Learning how to use the courthouse.
Is that so? Are you able to do that online? Because I've always been curious about that. Okay.
It's pretty expensive, but to get on there is easy.
Okay.
Andrew, you can afford it. A couple of bucks.
Yeah.
I went in there once. I didn't have any phone something. We can use the GIS in combination with courthouse and find a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, how do you do that on the courthouse?
So think about loan maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years ago, rates were great. So you can see what sold in 2018 or whatever. And if you know that it's financed at this bank down here that has 5 on it.
Right.
You can just start scanning these properties and you can look at their fees and see what they owe. Well, not what they owe, but what they started at. You can kind of
Sure. Interesting.
So if somebody uses aggressive leverage, 2023, they're probably not.
So where's that listed on the on the courthouse website? Like, do you have to go? What is the like? Oh, you have to go to the house, to the courthouse.
I don't know much about stuff.
Gotcha.
All the GIS stuff. If you go to the advanced setting,
Yeah.
there's a lot of videos. So you can do all that from home for free.
Oh, cool.
And then take that information to the house. Plan on being there for a while.
Sure. We're doing some research. Nice.
is an online way to do it if you're not cheap.
How much are we talking per month? Like a couple $100?
Probably about that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, we do? Is that Deeds Online? You can use that? Oh, okay. Gotcha. I didn't know you could do that through there. All right. I was gonna say if you use a gravity agent, you can. That's a free resource. So, anybody else have any tactics, any sites or? Publicnoticevirginia.com. Okay. Really? Right, right. They probably just pull the data from that main website and then charge you for it. Yeah.
Virginia.com was through the newspaper. I started surfing trustee sales for Bruno John, Southwest.
Nice.
That's how I found it.
Cool.
And then, I can't even remember how I got the public notice website, but I think they updated it within the last couple of years, and that's what they started using.
Nice. Do those usually go to market, or do people, or are they auction, or?
Normally when I find them or see them, if it's a good one, a lot of times they don't.
Yeah. Somebody will figure it out.
Yeah, figure out contact information, buy them out.
Right, right.
Or go get a family member to pay.
Gotcha.
But
Cool.
I've got
Yeah. There's one I've heard about that involves taxes. Like if there's back taxes on a property, you can elect to, and I don't want to butcher this, but you can elect to pay the tax lien off or pledge the tax lien or something like that. And if they don't pay it by a certain date, then you essentially like foreclose on the property and take over ownership. But again, I'm not sure exactly how that works or how to access it. So that's another one that I've heard about. So cool. So common signs to look for. Obviously, we were just saying rundown exterior. The yard's grown up, roof's fallen in, windows are boarded up. Like that's a seller that either is just completely negligent or maybe doesn't know what to do with the property. So those are good ones when you're driving for dollars, trying to figure out those. If you see any yellow or red tape signs on doors, that's typically a foreclosure or an eviction. I don't know why they use the yellow tape, but I guess probably to make sure that they get their attention. But if you see that driving down the road, it's worth stopping. Maybe not walk up on their front porch because you don't know who's up in there, but at least monitor it. Look it up in the GIS, see who the owner is. Maybe use the tactic Andrew's talking about, seeing if there's any liens on it or tax liens or anything along those lines. Fast price changes. That's one that if you look at the MLS and you see a property come up, and within the first 5, 6, 7 days, if they do a price drop like right away, first week, that's kind of tells you like, hey, this person is looking to get rid of it fairly quick. Most of the time, if somebody's fairly comfortable with keeping the property on the market for a while, they won't do a price drop that fast. So that's just kind of one of those red flags. Another one is back on the market. Sometimes, and especially in our situation, we have that a lot. You'll get a property under contract, they get a home inspection or something goes wrong with the buyer, and this can might have gotten kicked down the road for 30, 45 days already. And then something happens, contract falls apart. The timing, at that point probably is pretty, hasn't lined up with the seller's expectations. They're either starting to get desperate because they have already moved and that second mortgage is start kicking in, or they were just ready to get rid of this property. So you see something go back on market, there's a good chance, you could come in, I wouldn't say make a lowball offer, but you could get that property at more of a discount than what it was listed at, because they're ready to be done with it. And then looking at MLS verbiage. So these are kind of fun, but realtors have a way with words whenever they're writing a listing description. So you can, kind of parse through that when you see a listing come up. Anything that you see that says as is, seller motivated, quick close preferred, will not go FHA, bring all offers. A lot of that is based around this property needs a lot of repairs, or I'm ready to get out from under it, want a quick closing, just bring me any offer, I'll try and work with it. Those are ways to kind of zone in on that listing, see what you can do. And then these are the fun ones that you can kind of read between the lines. It says it needs some TLC, obviously needs some work with a little elbow grease. One of my favorite ones. Fixer upper, one that says there's endless potential. Usually means you need to put a lot of money into it. And then a blank canvas. So you guys kind of understand what that is, but I hear it more and more, and that usually means there's going to be some work involved. And if there's work involved in deferred maintenance, you're probably going to get the property at a bit of a discount. So just things to look out for. So then your phone rings, or you get in touch with one of these sellers, and now what do you do? What's the process? Obviously most the folks here are pretty experienced, so this is kind of basic stuff, but just things to remember. Obviously be friendly, be authoritative when you're on the phone. We have sellers and buyers all the time that tell us they've done this, they bought 7 houses. I'm like, we did that last month. So you are in an authoritative position being an investor or being a realtor and having these conversations. Like, just because they feel like they have a lot of experience and they've done this 5, 6, 7 times over their lifetime, most likely you have more experience than they do. And obviously be friendly. Don't come off as arrogant, but there is a way to talk to folks to let them know that you know what you're doing. You're not shooting from the hip here, and you're going to be fair about it. So step 2 is determining what their motivation is. So after you get their basic info, start asking some open-ended questions. How'd you hear about us? Is the house currently on the market? If so, have you had any offers? That's always a good one when you're talking to FSBOs. If they've had it up for 30, 45 days, haven't had a single offer or showing, we like to ask how many showings they've had. That's a good sign that it's probably overpriced, or they're not doing a good job marketing it. They're probably getting frustrated, and it's potential that you could get that for a discount. Why are you selling it? When the last time the kitchens, bathrooms, everything were renovated? If they say back in 1990, then there's probably some work involved in it. The roof, HVAC, big systems, water heater. These are all things that kind of take you to that authoritative position too. They know that you're serious when you're asking the right questions. Here's some others. What else needs to be fixed? Is the mortgage current? If it's not, what is the status? Who's the lender contact? If they've just gotten into forbearance or foreclosure, you could have a chance to come in and save the day, pay off what they have and get them out from under it. That's actually one of the examples I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit. How much is owed on it? That tells you kind of a baseline where you could start. If they owe, they've got second mortgage on the property that's maxed it out and it's still in a delinquent state, you can kind of figure out if you want to pursue that or not. And then how much they're asking, or a lot of times I say, how much would you like to walk away with? And then you can get a little creative with the deal to get them that money, whether it's owner financing or whatever it takes to get them what they want. After that, obviously you set the appointment. You want to get in the house. If the seller's there, have them show you the house. Make sure, this is a big one for us, make sure all the parties that are responsible are available and are there. It's really kind of frustrating when you get to the house and they're like, well, this is actually in a trust and it's me and my 7 brothers and sisters, and they live all over the US and some of them live in Europe. And it's like, well, this is going to take a lot longer. So make sure you ask those qualifying questions. Get in, ask them if everyone is in agreement to sell. A lot of times we're reading between the lines when people are talking. I've gotten pretty good over the years at figuring out if someone's kind of BSing us or not. You know, you can tell body language, things like that. So all these questions kind of lead you into that. And do they have all the paperwork and title information, things like that, to actually sell the property to you? Because once you get past this point, you're ready to make the offer if all the boxes are checked. This one's pretty straightforward. You know, we actually have a whole presentation, I think in a couple months, on creative deal structures, how to make offers, how to get to that point B that the seller wants you to. So we won't get into that making the offer too much here, but that's kind of the gist of that. Yes.
Step 3 seems to imply that you were making the offer on that first trip.
So step 3 and 4 they can kind of be paired together.
Are you going there and looking at the house and making an offer before you get in your car and drive home?
It depends on those qualifying questions, right? So, if when I ask, what would you like to get for the property? Because I'm doing my due diligence up front. I'm looking at it from the outside, maybe when I got it in, and when we're on the phone the first time, I'm asking, when was the last time it was updated? How's the roof? How's the HVAC systems? And I see, the tax assessment for this is at 120. And then you go to the house, everything checks out when you walk through it, and you ask them what they want to walk away with, and they say 80,000. And you're like, I'm making an offer right there. And I'll bring paperwork with me, whether it's filled out or not. I won't show them that, obviously, when I get there, but kind of keep it in a folder or something, or in your bag. And if things check out, I don't like getting like frantic and be like, oh, I'll offer you right now, because then kind of red flags kick up. But you play it cool, and a lot of times I will make the offer right there if it does check out. So sometimes I'm the worst at this, actually. Hannah knows best because we just went through this, but I will go home and stew on it for like weeks at a time sometimes. And I saw you looked at the document. Are you going to sign it? Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but honestly, the more I do it, when I have those like back and forth, 90% of the time I realize that, like, me not just walking away and having that debate with myself means that I should go through with it. Most of the time I'm pretty good at saying, this isn't a good opportunity, I'm just going to walk, not waste my time. If there's all that back and forth, it's probably just me like trying to talk myself out of it, when in reality I just need that little kick to move forward with it. So yeah, that's part of it. So I want to open it up now. I'm curious to hear some of the deals that you guys might have had. I'll get into a couple of mine, but I don't, I've been up here talking for enough at this point. When we get through this, I do have some investment opportunities that are coming up. We haven't necessarily ironed out all the details, but I want to put them out to the group. If somebody's interested in one of them, definitely want to come let me know, and we can either set up like a luncheon, which we're going to do with another opportunity, or I can just keep you in the loop as we move forward with those opportunities. So has anybody had a deal here recently where they had a seller situation that was maybe a little unique, or they were motivated, or they had a problem that kind of took you a couple more steps than normal to solve for them? Nobody's doing deals? That's why we're here. That's why we're here, huh? Did you get your eyes dilated today or something?
So I can share our first deal.
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
So we've got a son here at Virginia Tech, which is alumni, and so
right.
Back in 2000, before the world blew up, or 2020, I always do that.
Yeah. 2009.
We refinanced our house in Richmond, pulled the cash out. We were making all cash offers and not getting the house.
Sure.
We'd go 5 over, no inspection, someone would come in higher.
Right.
And we found one, it was listed, it was previously a foreclosure, someone had bought it, and they realized it was too much work. And we looked at it and we said, no way.
Yeah.
It's too much work. And then we realized there's nothing else here that we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
The price was good. Like, it was well below market value, but it needed a ton of work.
plumbing, electrical, flooring.
Sure.
And it was bigger than we wanted. So we walked in it like 2 or 3 times and finally realized we could kind of lay it out a little differently and create some space on the back for us to come visit where we're staying now.
Yeah.
And rent out the front to my son and his roommate.
Nice.
And so we put in an offer. It was right about what he was asking, if I remember. So we didn't really solve any. He wasn't getting any action.
Sure.
And it wasn't listed well. I think the catchphrase that they had on there was experienced investors only.
Oh, there you go. That's a new one.
And that wasn't us.
Yeah, right.
This was our first house we were buying that we weren't going to live in.
Sure.
But we knew we wanted a house in Blacksburg, so we made an offer under asking price. Yeah. Asking price.
Yeah.
And he took it, and then we started rapidly searching Craigslist for contractors.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
With some success and some failures.
Yeah, I know the feeling there. Yeah, you run into some of those handymen that promise you the world, doesn't work out. But no, that's great. Yeah. And again, goes back to the terminology. Next time you see that on a listing, you'll be like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. Does anybody else have one? No. So I'll go next. I guess it was so in Giles County, where I grew up. There's a neighborhood called Fort Branch, and it's full of what they call these. They call them Celanese houses, because if you know much about Giles, there's a big factory in Giles called Celanese, and they manufacture chemicals and like fibers and things along those lines. So that came into town in like the mid 40s, like early 40s to 50s, and Giles was essentially very low population at that point. So they had thousands of workers coming in with no housing. So these neighborhoods, they all literally built the same house, like cookie cutter style, like changed up the layout a little bit, like maybe had a bedroom on this side versus that side. But they were all built same time period. I mean, they're built like brick shit houses, honestly. Like they are the best foundation, like the best builds that I've even seen in houses that were built in the 80s and 90s. So I bought my first one, and then my cousin lived next door, and she actually moved, and we bought hers. And then my brother bought the house to live in, 2 houses down from the first one that I bought. And I was just like, I have to get this 4th house. Like, we got to complete this row up here. Was reaching out to the seller. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. He had another guy that had reached out to him before that said, I'll give you a cash offer. And he was like, no, I'm keeping it as a rental. And I like over this, I was like a 3-year period. I just watched the thing like continually get worse and worse. Like, didn't have good tenants in it. It was, getting run down. And I, probably once a year, I would reach out to this guy and be like, hey, you still interested? You still interested? Wasn't having it. But then one day, and this was about 8 months ago at this point, one day he called me up and he said, I'm ready to sell the house. He said, my mom got cancer. I need to build out my basement and so she can come live in it with me. He said, I'll sell it to you for what I owe on it plus X amount, that I need to finish out the garage. And again, kind of knew that market already. The other houses that we'd renovated and rented out were, I think they appraised at like 165, 168 range. First one I bought was for $80,000. We did like $10,000 worth of work, and then it appraised for that. I was like, damn, this is a ticket. And we figured out what he owed on it. He only owed $60,000 on his. So he ended up wanting an extra 15 on top of that. But at the time, didn't really, we had bought some other stuff, and I didn't necessarily have the funds to make up the difference of what he wanted. So did something creative with his loan, kind of like assumed his loan without having to put money down, and then got him the $15K from another private person, to kind of get him what he needed. And then we renovated it, rented it out, and then turned around and refinanced it. And that one appraised at like 165, I think. So, that was a situation where you found the property, continuously like reach out to them, let them know you're still interested. You just never know, like one day he's going to reach out and say, I'm in this dire situation. I would have probably paid 120 for it if he would have sold it the first year that I reached out to him. So obviously, you know, you never know when the situation is going to come up. When the seller's motivated, you're going to get a better deal, you know, than just normal situation. So.
How are you reaching out to them? By mail or phone?
So this is a little sketchy trade secret. There's a website that no, there's a website called fastpeoplesearch.com, and you can't do it with LLCs because they have like a registered agent. But you can literally type somebody's name in and where they live, like at least just I think it's either town or county and state, which you can get off the GIS, like it shows their registered residence. So you know, like John Doe, not the address of the property, but the address that it's registered to, and you type this in Fast People Search, and it will give you every address that John Doe has ever lived at or has been registered to him, and every phone number that's ever been registered to him, as well as his family members' phone numbers. So that is, and I don't tell people that obviously, but I call them. Luckily, I don't have a lot of questions asked. I think people just assume these days, like, you're going to find my information one way or the other. But that's how I do my kind of dirty work. Yeah.
Just out of the blue.
Yep. And I said, hey, look, I've got the property beside yours. And they don't know. I mean, you could have got the info from the tenant or something like that. But as long as you're friendly, a lot of times I don't get a lot of flack. We do the same thing, and you can do that with expired listings if you have access to the MLS, or you have access to a realtor who has access to the MLS. You can go through expired listings that someone was trying to sell and didn't work out, obviously. So you know that they have a reason to sell. They're most likely still wanting to sell. It shows who the owner is. You can put them in this system. You can call them up. Hey, why didn't your house sell? Are you still interested in selling? Yeah, I'm interested in selling. Well, if there's not a realtor involved, you can save, you know, $30,000 on commission. I'd be willing to offer you this for your property, or at least come see it and see if it checks out. So those are some of the ways that we kind of like play the system there, which is ethically, like, we'll haven't gotten in trouble yet, I guess. But Dave?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a situation. So we bought a house in Christiansburg, and we bought it because we're introducing ourselves to neighbors. Hey, if you ever sell, let us know. Yeah, similar concept. 2 or 3 years later, we got a call from our tenant saying, hey, the neighbor wanted me to reach out to you. Contacted them for them. Okay, so we talked to them. And it was the same thing. It's like, well, if we sell it on the list, we're going to pay the commission and all that.
Right.
We just kind of want to be done with it. So, okay, you know, well, here's what we give you. Here's what you could probably get. We're pretty transparent with them. Here's what you could probably get. But you know, you're going to
Right.
go through the hassle of trying to clean it up and list it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And you know, sometimes I'll negotiate that deal down to what they want to net. You know, so like we say, if there was a realtor involved, you know, you'd have to get 130 to net 100. I mean, that math doesn't add up, obviously, but it'd be a hell of a commission on a $100,000 house. But whenever you put it under contract at 100, you can go back to the seller and say, look, you know, I'm coming out of pocket for 25,000. Since you're okay with netting 100, could we make the purchase price 115, and you pay me 15,000 at closing? You still net the same price. I'm paying a little bit more on my loan, but I'm also keeping money in my pocket, so I can go out and do another deal here or there. You know, right? Yeah, you have to make sure it can appraise, but a lot of times 100 to, you know, adding 15,000 on it wouldn't affect it, depending on how bad it is. Yeah. So. Anyone else? Come this way a little bit, Hannah. I think the music's kind of drowning you out. Those things are good. If you guys get food after the pork belly tacos, things are mean.
You know, where we bought the foreclosure was at Pulaski. Kind of not the most desirable area of Pulaski, but that's kind of where our strong areas are. It's where we can make it work, price wise and everything. So I think just if you seeing you out there doing stuff. I don't think you should do this stuff in secret. I think that you should like make it known as what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, people come to me all the time with this. I'm not the most desirable property, but people like Cody buy them, and I can usually.
I'll show you one here in a second. You guys are gonna be like, whoa.
But I think that's important. Like, just don't be secretive about it.
Yeah.
Let people know what you do, because you never know what they have or what their mama's uncle has. So.
Yeah.
I mean, to be more specific about the two houses, one foreclosure, it was actually the second one, and I was like, well, I'll go ahead. I normally go to the office and see if I can see what it is, what's going to go for. An idea is but this particular one, if we need one other guy, initial offer was like 28,000, and the other guy did one in. I got that house for 29,000, and I thought that it was gonna. It was honestly a situation where what didn't need a whole lot. I mean, it needed stuff, but I thought it was going to be right off the bat. It ended up going in, and somebody had put all the copper wiring and plumbing out.
Fun.
You know, rapid or whatever. So I just replaced breaker box wiring, plumbing. But while I was doing that, the guy that lived next door, I knew. They had just bought the house. They were doing 4,000 prior. And long story short, they ended up selling that house to me later. They wanted 25 for it, and probably should have jumped on it right then, but we being, I don't know, for wanting the best deal possible, I ended up talking about it 20 and got.
Nice.
I was trying to actually get financing on this house after we got that whatever. And I got like turned down. I got turned down by two things, as far as like not like wanting to, or the way that they wanted to win on it was putting up cash flow.
Right.
So I ended up just selling and flipping this house. So I think she sold one for 20 that I got for 8. I probably had like, I think I had 5,000 in when I bought it. About 8,000.
Nice. Yeah, it's always good when you have that like double exit strategy, right? So like, you kind of planned on renovating them and then renting them out and refinancing it, but you still had the exit where you bought them so low that you could sell them. So it like de-risks everything that you're doing, which is nice. And it's funny when you've either been in a market and done deals enough, or you grew up there or live there. Like, it's so much easier to spot deals. You don't have to overanalyze it, because this house down the street, I know sold for 150, and it had one less bedroom than this one. So, it really comes down to how much it's going to cost to renovate it, making sure your numbers are right and that you're not missing something. But that actually is what we're going to do next month. So, I've got my pretty face on here, but we're actually going to bring somebody in for this one. I'd like to get somebody that does a lot of rehabs, does a lot of flips, maybe a contractor that can speak on the, how to estimate these projects. But we're going to talk about how to rehab for big profits. I think they have like a 3-step process that you can go over. It's going to be July 26th, so we always meet the last Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. So everybody, I want to get some feedback on that. We had We moved it to 6 this time because people wanted to get here after work. Did that seem to work out for everybody fairly well? Yeah. Okay. So no request to move it back. All right, good. So we'll get this up. We'll have an email sent out, calendar invite, stuff like that, like we've been doing. But we'd love to see you guys back here for that too. And if you have anyone that come to mind that do a lot of rehabs or flips or the BRRRR strategy and is pretty seasoned in it, I'd love to get some guest speakers up here to speak to us on that stuff. So just keep that in mind. Reach out to me. So these will be fairly quick, but wanted to get into some upcoming deals in the area. This row of townhomes, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Radford, but I've sold a couple houses for the Willow Creek properties guys over in Radford. They've got a ton of investments over there. And this one's coming up. They gave me a permission to go ahead and start pushing it out, especially to you guys. But it's this 6, and then a separate owner owns this one. So don't worry about that. I tried already. I saw him outside one day, and I was like, "Hey, buddy." And he was like, "No." He's like, "Go on." I was like, "What, do you want to buy the rest of them?" He was like, "No." So at least I tried. But there's a mix in here. The end units are 4-bedroom, 3-bath. There's 3 other 3-bedroom units, and then 2 2-bedroom units. So this one is, I don't know if you guys know much again about Radford or Tyler Ave, but these are like super hard to comp out because they're very high end. At least when you're comparing it to the other townhomes right next to campus in Radford. So the only comps I could really pull on them were from like Heron's Landing, like that, and obviously that's not that comparable because this is on campus essentially, and that one is beside a golf course. That's true, which I ate at last week, and it was pretty good. I don't know if you've been up there yet, but it's good. Yeah. Oh yeah. So this one's coming up. They're obviously Class A properties. Most of them are rented out right now. They're kind of doing turnovers, which doesn't help it on the listing side. I think that might be actually what they're waiting on to get it up on the market to try and sell them as a package deal. There's not a lot of value add here per se because they have been updated. They're fairly new, but they're like premier properties right in the middle of Radford. It's going to be more of a, put a decent amount down, cash flow it as well as you can, but let the properties appreciate over time. Not necessarily my model for investing. One, because I don't have a ton of capital to just drop on $2 million, but as a group, or if somebody has a fund, it's possible. Or if you're, just looking to park money instead of having a bunch of work involved or a bunch of management behind it, or, have to worry about stuff breaking. Willow Creek properties. Yeah. So they bought a ton of stuff from Jeff Price. Not too. I don't know off the top of my head. But 2 of the units are not rented at the moment. So they're trying to raise rents and get those up, and they raised rents on 3 of them, which got leased out, and those 2 they're still kind of showing at the moment. So again, I'll send these out. If anybody's interested, I can send you the rent rolls because I do have them. I didn't remember it off the top of my head. So yes, this is their list price. So no, they did not. Yeah, they did comps because clearly if it's not rented at the moment, and it's not the best cash flowing asset. That's why I was saying it's going to be more of a appreciation play. So that's kind of where they land on price, and I'm sure they're negotiable on it too, especially if you buy it as a package. I kind of suggested, I was like, might be able to get more if you broke them up and tried to sell them that way, because you can cash flow a lot easier with one property than buying it as a bundle. But that's kind of where they landed. So we'll see what their plan is with that. They could be willing to sell 2 or 3 of them at a time, maybe not the whole 6. So just let me know. So the next one was the one Hannah and I were talking about. This is the one I kept just going back and forth on. So this is on Randolph Ave in Pulaski. It's like one of the main streets that go down into downtown. It's a 4-bed. Currently, it's a 4-bed, 1-bath. There's a room upstairs that we're probably going to turn into a 2nd bath if we go that route. We put this under contract at $20,000. I think the lot is like 0.3 acres or something like that. 20,000. No, 0.3. Sorry. Yeah. No, that'd be nice. I wouldn't have debated that one too much. So the story behind this, though, we went and looked at it. There's a garage or a building right here, and I won't bring the guy's name up, but there was some confusion. Like, we reached out to him when we were negotiating this deal to see if he'd be willing to sell that building, and he said yes. And we negotiated a price, and then we went to send him the contract. He said, "Oh, I thought I was actually purchasing the house, not selling my building." And I was like, that doesn't necessarily make sense, because we went up in price and you agreed to it. So why would you agree to pay more than what the original price was? So that was strange. But so it that put some question marks in my head with this. It was like having the building, buying it at 20, like it probably needs $100,000 worth of work. Now it probably would have sold like 215, or at least list price 215, 4-bed, 2-bath in Pulaski. Comps around it have sold. There's 2 bedrooms on the same street that have sold for 150, 160. So, the price is there, but that building's kind of out of play now. I reached out to the guy, talked to him. He was pretty stubborn on like trying to make a deal work. I think, and this is just me kind of reading between the lines, I think he's hoping I would back out and he could buy the property and do exactly what I was trying to do with it. Kind of thought about that. Thought process now is buy it with cash, either go ahead and flip it, turn it into a rental instead of trying to make a margin. If the margins aren't there, you turn around, put a loan on it, rent it out. There's still margin there if you could sell it at 180 and only had $100,000 into it. The development aspect, when I was talking to the gentleman that owns the building, he said, well, what my plan was, if I were to ever get that building, was to just bulldoze all of it and put an apartment there. And he said, I'd be willing to partner with you on something like that if you buy the building. Don't know what those numbers look like yet. Don't know how serious he is. He is a pretty prominent contractor in this area and around the NRV. So kind of what I'm thinking now is, purchase it for $20,000, sit on it for a little bit. Maybe once it's bought, he changes his mind on keeping that building. Once he realizes that he's not going to get the house, he might not be as worried about keeping the building.
Recliner come with it?
There's a lawnmower inside.
Recliner on the porch?
That?
Yeah.
You can have it if you want.
No, I can't.
Yeah. I don't know how they got that lawnmower in there, because it does not fit through any of the doors. So there's just a lawnmower sitting in the hallway. Yes. Yeah. No. So that's kind of, this plan. If we get to the point where, somebody's willing to go in and help with the $20K down payment, sit on it and figure something out, like that's an opportunity. We're closing on it end of July. So if it's of any interest to anybody, let me know. So don't you love these pictures? Like point. This was a video I was taking, and I was pointing and explaining. So when I screenshot it, it's just me pointing to everything. So this is actually across the street. Sorry if you guys can't see it. This is across the street from that Randolph property. When Hannah and I were over there, we were talking to some neighbors, and they said a bunch of things, but they were pointed across the street, and they were like, that property's been vacant for a long time. And we said, well, heck, we might as well go over there and look at it. The doors were unlocked, so we just kind of walked through it. Ended up, again, figuring out who it was. He's actually a realtor, so we already had his number. I didn't have to look him up. Hannah reached out to him. and he's willing to sell it. Went back and walked through it, and bones are good. It's in pretty rough shape, to be completely honest with you. But for 12 units, obviously it's Class D, maybe F, depending on how you value it. But we had JES come out. Foundation's good. The bones are good. He put new roofs on this property and that property. This was a single-family home at one point, and it's got 3 floors. They've been kind of sectioned off in between the 3, so you could have 3 separate apartments. Each of them were 3 bedrooms, I believe. And then it is attached to this brick building that they built quite a bit afterwards, and this has 4 more units in it. 5 maybe. Actually, I think this might have 4 in it. And then these have 4. There's 1 in the front, 1 in the back, and then upstairs there's 1 on the top, 1 in the back. Those are actually, apart from like redoing the kitchens and the bathrooms and the flooring and stuff, like it's in pretty decent shape. Like not a lot of water damage or anything like that. And then this building is beside this one, and it's a 4-plex. So obviously a ton of renovation is needed, but got the purchase price at about $245,000. And depending on how you structure it with the bank, the thought process is to maybe purchase a loan, do these renovations first, get some tenants in there, at least help with the debt burden. If not cover it, at least it'll get close, so you're not spending as much money, and then tackle the bigger projects, starting with this back one. Those aren't going to take that much work, but you can get another 4 units on board, and then at the end of it, tackle that big property in the front. This one needs a new roof, new flooring, pretty much everything in that one, besides maybe the drywall and stuff. So those are all coming online. We haven't necessarily figured out the exact plan with all of them. Depending on down payment, things along those lines, we'll probably need to bring some partners in, and we can talk about returns and preferred returns and things like that at that point. But we just put this under contract today, and we put a pretty decent due diligence period and close date on it. So we've got some time to figure it out with the bank and things along those lines. So if any of these interest you, please let me know. The last one is more of it's a real estate play, but it's a business that we've been working on for about a year now. And we're going to do a luncheon 2 Wednesdays from now, I think at our office, where we come in and kind of give you the full rundown, which is what we're kind of planning on do with these two, if anybody's interested. But July 12th, we're going to have as many people as we can get. We're going to cater a lunch from our restaurant, Bluegrass Barbecue, and really go over in detail what our plans are with this business and what we're doing. So we are under contract for this building as well in Pulaski. Jamie actually is one of the former JS members who secured it for us. And we've, kind of got with him and some of the other members that bought this building about a year and a half ago now. And we're going to take these.
Come to the lunch.
Yeah, come. We'll explain it all. Yeah, he wants it sold. Bluegrass. Yeah. But the concept here is to take these old abandoned schools, which are freaking everywhere, because counties and localities are consolidating, and there's only, especially in rural areas, there's only some apartments that you can build in these schools. But we're going to buy them at a low cost, renovate them using historic tax credits, which subsidizes your development cost by up to 45% a lot of times, and then lease the space out to vertical farming companies that will come in and use space like the auditorium to grow produce and other crops and things like that in the facility. Yeah, not weed. We're not ruling it out, but maybe one of these rooms. That's literally the first. Yeah. That's the first thing anyone ever says about it. But no, it's if you're not familiar with vertical farming, it's super interesting concept. The advancements in like LED lighting technology and just hydroponics in general have allowed us to take a lot of the grow process from the ground and bring it inside. And in most cases, you can grow about 6 to 10 acres worth of crops inside in a 1 acre footprint. So you can really get your like maximize yield. You can turn the crops over faster. It's all controlled. There's no pesticides. There's no weather that you have to worry about. So winter time, you can grow straight through the winter. There's a lot of benefits of it. And Virginia is actually like the hub for CEA right now, which is controlled environmental agriculture. But there's some big companies doing this on a much good.
Obviously, there's a while to go in proof of concept, but vertical farming is a solution to world food crisis in places where they can't grow things. And you can put a building up in the middle of the desert, have a grow facility, assuming you have access to it. So water is a component you have to have. But it's an amazing concept, and Cody was particularly good at thinking through the process of what's the easiest mechanism to find places to do these. And in construction, the biggest barrier for companies that want to do these type of facilities is the infrastructure cost. So if you find a way to tell them, hey, we might be able to have a mechanism in place where you can do your improvements, your construction costs for 50% of what it would cost anybody else. That's a pretty amazing opportunity to turn these, in many ways, abandoned buildings into use. And there's also lots of other potential economic incentives, economic development incentives with employees, job creation, local incentives that also can be brought to bear. It's I've heard the whole spiel from Cody multiple times, and I will tell you that it's something I have a high level of interest in.
We talked to a lot of localities because we were trying to figure out how many schools there were that were available, and they've got multiple, and they're literally like, we will give you these things if you guys will come in and do the project.
Create 10 jobs.
Yeah, create jobs, provide organic, non-pesticide produce to our region. There's just so many like variables to it, and we've done over probably 100 customer discovery interviews now with vertical farmers or people that are in that industry, in and around that industry. And the biggest thing is always the real estate costs so much, the development costs so much, and we're farmers, we're not developers. So we're spending time and expertise on people that's not our wheelhouse. And then that debt burden is on their books. So it's eating into their margins, it's eating into what they're actually able to grow in their facilities. So this creates space for them to come and lease out from us, and they don't have the debt on their books and the risk of the real estate behind it. And we can kind of, because it's classroomed, we can compartmentalize what's grown in each thing and bring different companies in that do different things to kind of spread that risk across. And we're super excited about it. There's a environmental, like climate smart piece to it where we're trying to make it a carbon negative grow environment, so we can sell carbon credits and things like that based on our processes. So would love to, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but would love for you guys to come to that. So again, we're going to have our barbecue from our restaurant there. We'll buy you lunch. Probably. No, I'm not sure exactly where the luncheon is, but we'll send an email out. No, it'll be in Blacksburg, most likely. Yeah. The building is in Pulaski, yes. I don't think we want to do that. I'm not eating lunch in there. So, yeah. So that's it, guys. Appreciate it. I think I still went over on time, but there was a lot of more group discussion, which is good. Everybody grab a beer if you got your tickets. The first two were on us. Talk some deals. That was my favorite part, actually. The first one was we kind of all got in a little huddle and talked about the deals we had going on and how to leverage each other and things like that. So make sure you're making those connections, and see you next month, hopefully. So, thanks.